This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Samsung Intrepid Windows Mobile 6.5 touchscreen smartphone for Sprint. This replaces the Samsung Ace on Sprint, and as you can see, it's a QWERTY bar phone again. We've got the Smile configuration keyboard. These are matte keys, so they're good to type on. Your fingers don't slip off. They're not terribly huge, but they are very domed. You can see the scalloping on the top of the keys here. It makes for reasonably good tactile feedback. This is a four-way D-pad, with a kind of unusual looking center button to press. You have your Windows Start and OK keys here, which have no contrast on the labeling, a little strange. Windows Mobile soft keys, call, send, and end button. Nothing much to see on the bottom. On the side here we have the camera button and the power button. And on the back, 3.2 megapixel camera with a LED flash and a self-portrait mirror. Up top we have a 3.5 millimeter stereo jack. And on this side we've got the volume rocker and a USB sync and charge connector. This is a CDMA phone, which is what Sprint uses for the network, with EVDO Rev-A, and it also is quad-band GSM for roaming. We'll take a look inside the phone. And you can see there's a SIM card slot here. Sorry, you can't use it on AT&T and T-Mobile in the US, though. While we're taking a look inside, here's the micro SD card slot. As I mentioned earlier, this is a Windows Mobile 6.5 touchscreen smartphone. This is the first 6.5 smartphone for Sprint. So it's got the new Zune-like UI here that you can control with the D-pad or use your finger. The challenge is this is just a QVGA display, 320 by 240 pixels, and it's 2.5 inches. So what works just fine on a bigger screen device like the Imagio on Verizon is a little hard to control here. It's easier with the D-pad. So you have things like voicemail status, phone calls, access to your music, and you can play music directly from the home screen. Pictures, you can peruse your pictures. Quick launch to IE, calendar, email and texts if you have any. And if you want to scroll through them, you do it by dragging the bar around. It's a little bit awkward. If you like the traditional home screen, like that found on Windows Mobile 6.1, you can switch the theme and go back to that happily. If you hit the Windows Start menu, you'll see the new Windows Mobile 6.5 staggered layout, which is fairly easy to control with fingers, but pretty awkward if you're going to start using the D-pad to get between icons, because they've been staggered to make it easier for touch. And aside from the new look of the UI, you've got new things like the Windows Mobile Marketplace, which we'll take a look at in a minute, and Microsoft My Phone, which is a syncing and backup service that's free, a couple of Microsoft widgets for things like weather. And we'll take a look at the Marketplace, because that's probably the most interesting new thing for Windows Mobile 6.5. It will be coming to older versions of Windows Mobile later on. So here's the Windows Mobile Marketplace, where you can download applications, both free and paid. The fonts are ginormous here. They looked a little strange on big touchscreen HTC devices, and they're even more awkward here. But once you go into a subcategory, they're somewhat more manageable. If you tap on an item you're interested in, you can get a fairly long description, which you can scroll through. At least you can drag here, because accessing the tiny scroll bar is not easy. You can look at reviews of the application, see screenshots. This uses the Windows Live sign-in system, so if you've got a Windows Live account, that's what you'll use with it. It's fairly fast. And you can scroll through and look at categories, most popular, showcase, and a couple of things that are featured across the top. So that's the Windows Mobile 6.5 Marketplace. Let's take a look at the Sprint applications that are on the phone. This has a GPS, so it comes with Sprint navigation, which is powered by Telenav. And we'll launch that. The phone has a 528 megahertz Qualcomm CPU, like most Windows Mobile phones these days. It has 256 megs of RAM and 512 megs of flash ROM. And as we saw, the micro SD card slot for storing files and more. So here's Sprint navigation, or Telenav, compressed to fit on the small screen. You can click on wherever you want. And there it remembers our last position from previously. It gets a fix pretty quickly. Keeps up fairly well in navigation. You can choose to drive to a location. This works pretty much like it does on any Sprint phone. You can choose your favorites, recent places, POIs, cities, intersections, and all that good stuff, and has spoken turn-by-turn directions. Phone also has Sprint TV, NASCAR Mobile, and NFL Mobile. We'll take a look at Sprint TV. Alright, so here's Sprint TV and Sprint Radio as well. Check out performance, and we'll just pick something. Oh, let's try the Disney Channel. Not the most impressive Sprint TV in performance we've seen here. As you can see, this digital breakup and pausing. We have about 50% signal strength. Probably with full signal strength, you'd see somewhat better performance, but this isn't the best we've seen for Sprint TV. Finally, let's take a look at the web browser, which is IE6 Mobile. IE6 Mobile has a lot of improvements compared to previous versions of IE found on older Windows Mobile handsets. It behaves a little bit more like Opera. The desktop rendering fast style isn't quite there yet, but it's pretty good, and it's faster than Opera is. So that's your Sprint home screen. And let's visit our website to see how that does. So here's our website, crammed into a QVGA 2.5-inch display. So obviously you're not going to be able to read anything initially. You're going to have to zoom in. Scrolling speed is all right. Tap into zoom, and that becomes very legible. Not going to see that much on screen because the resolution is fairly low. However, that resolution does keep the device small. But with some of the higher-end BlackBerries sporting a much higher resolution, this guy has a lot of competition to face. I'd say the rendering on this still beats the BlackBerry web browser, though. So that's the Samsung Intrepid on Sprint. Visit Mobile Tech Review to read our full review.